What is up, podheads? Tony here, back with another episode of the Podio Slate podcast. It's another kind of weekend night for the three of us. I'm here with Anthony and Nate. How you guys doing?
Every night is a nerd night. So
Truth.
It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. For Nate, he's sometimes living in the future, sometimes in the past. I don't know where he is. Wait, is Nate here? He's nodding his head.
I'm nerding.
Does nothing for the audience. And I'm Anthony, by the way, in case you didn't know. If this is your first episode, welcome to the show. I'm Anthony.
Welcome to the show.
Where's your auto-tune? You need auto-tune before you start pulling that.
I'll do that in post. I'll fix that in post.
Yep, Nate here. Yeah, geeking out, man. Like you said, it's every day. It's 7 days a week. It's 365. But when we record on the weekends, I think there's a lot of upside to it. You know, we don't have to scramble with work. It's just we can just geek.
Agreed.
We can geek out, you know?
That's
Trying to
true.
record after work is difficult, but worth it always, every time. But
Yeah.
Weekend warriors is also nice.
The other thing about it being, 7 days a week, 365, all that. Earlier this afternoon, I was with our mutual friend Rob, who's been on this podcast a few times.
Nice.
And he told me that he ranked his top 100 songs of the 90s.
No
And then
way.
proceeded to have me guess his top three. And I did, we had some hints. There were some other people around that were helping, but I got 1 and 2, kind of. But 1 I definitely got, and it would surprise you, but it's awesome. And I was like, we just were nerding out at the bar, literally nerding out at the bar. So it was a good time.
Nice.
It was a good time having Rob, do that without the microphones on, because that's what we do.
Speaking of what we do, I get a trivia for you guys, which I found out this today. This could be very common knowledge. I didn't know about it. The band Cold,
Oh, yeah.
Year of the Spider, 20th anniversary this year. One of the big singles off that album was Stupid Girl. Who co-wrote that?
Rivers Cuomo.
Yes.
Wow.
I didn't know that. And I'll just tell the backstory because I saw this on TikTok today. Scooter, they had opened for Weezer, like in a tour leading up to that, I think. But anyway, he was writing that song and he realized that, like, I think the guitars and the bridge was very Weezer-like. So he was like, this is too Weezer-like. So he calls up Rivers and they collaborate on it. Like, imagine having that Rolodex and being like, hey, what you doing?
I know. We've tried calling Rivers a couple times. We just keep dialing in numbers, and he's not on the other end. So,
So Nate, you knew that, you fucker.
I didn't know like the additional context to it. I just knew that he had writing credit on it. I believe it's in the pamphlet. But yeah, other than that, that's all I knew.
Yeah. Wikipedia confirmed.
yeah, that's in the nerd pamphlet, Twan, if you didn't get it. So
The nerd
go check your nerd pamphlet. Or your pass has been revoked. Your nerdery card has been
All right.
revoked.
The checklist is nerd pamphlet, Kerrang subscription,
Yeah.
and Hit Parader. There you go.
All the above, baby.
And waiting by the tour bus to confirm.
Yeah. and sneaking onto said tour bus. Never mind, that didn't happen.
No. Good. That's a good trivia question. I like that. Maybe we should start more episodes with a trivia question that Nate knows the answer to, because I love doing that. I love that.
That's
stuff.
I mean, I don't usually get it right out of the gate. I feel like Tony,
Stump
you
the
have a pretty
Nate.
good record.
Stump the
So-
Nate coming at you. Episode 175 coming at you.
I mean, a few episodes ago, Twan, you were like 3 for 3.
True.
It wasn't trivia, but you were guessing things.
I have a sneaky like hunch with you. I don't know. I can rarely get in Nate's brain, but when I can, I'm in there and I can read your thoughts.
That's awesome. I like it.
Well, this is a topic. This episode is one that I don't know that you will be able to get into Nate's brain, because Nate's brain is one of a kind when it comes to hot takes and conspiracy theories. And we've done this before, both actually, but we're going to put it together, and we threw the call out to some of our music pod friends and music friends in general to give us some of these. So we get some quick hitters. We get some ones that we've come up with. It's going to be kind of all over the map, but exciting to do the conspiracy theory hot take music world topic again with you guys.
And I like these because the possibilities are endless. We're not limited to a genre, era, solo, group, band, whatever. And then also you call it out to the nerd entourage. And there's some stuff that I wouldn't have thought of, So who wants to start? Or Nate, what are your thoughts?
I mean, this was like an off-the-cuff subject, right? It was like, hey, what are we going to do? And I brought one up that was kind of clamoring in my head as a conspiracy or a thought, given the circumstances, may have spearheaded this effort. or this topic. So yeah, between that and everyone's submissions, there's a lot of cool things to discuss today.
Right on. So where are we starting? Who's hitting us with the good here right now?
I'm gonna hit you with my first one because I've already kind of texted it to you guys, and I actually think I put it out on Twitter like a week or two ago. But I feel pretty strongly about this, and I think the lead singer of Sleep Token is Hozier. I really do. He sounds just fucking like him. They're from the same part of the world. Hozier's Irish, Sleep Token is British, correct? So they're in the same area. Hozier's putting some sort of music out in the next few weeks that's called The End or whatever. So maybe he's done and he's just going to fulfill the rest of his time as Vessel or whatever that guy's name is in Sleep Token. I believe that's his name.
So Hozier's the vocal vessel for Vessel.
Exactly. Maybe he's just, given his world up to Sleep or whatever the fuck I don't know. There's a lot of stuff around Sleep Token that, they're hot right now. They're hot in the streets, but go listen to Take Me to Church and then go listen to some newer Sleep Token and tell me they're not the same fucking person, because I think they're the same person.
So I never made this connection. And then when you said it, I looked it up, and there's people that do think that. Like, there's, of the names that have been tossed out, that's one that has come up. So you're not alone, which means that, hey, maybe it is. And for context, Sleep Token is the hype band that has costumes and masks. No one knows who they are. Could be a super group, right? Or who knows?
We don't know. Yeah.
And the question is, who is it, and are they deserving of the hype? I think that's a legitimate conspiracy theory. Like, I think that could be it. Like, I don't think that's far-fetched. Like, who else is it? I mean,
there's a couple. I mean, in doing research for this, there's a couple of names thrown out there. I didn't know any of them. Leo Faulkner, I think, was one. Bands I'd never heard of, people I'd never heard of. Doesn't mean they're bad. I just didn't know who they were. But I in listening to the songs that have come out for, the new record coming out later this year, which I'm actually pretty excited about, and I was late to the train on them, I guess, but it sounds like Hozier. I think it's Hozier.
So what would be the reasoning to do something like that? Is it like a Chris Gaines type marketing play, or is it?
Where's the ball rolling? This is a band that's like a bunch of different types of music, right? They kind of don't really fit in one box, and they have a lot of mystique around them, and people love that too, the mysteriousness of it. That might be like, hey, let's reinvent myself, or a group of people, let's reinvent ourselves and do this.
I mean, every band wants people to talk about them, and in order for people to talk about them, you need a narrative. This is the ultimate narrative. Masks, identity's not revealed. Could it be this guy? Could it be that guy? Like you said, I think you were kind of alluding to this. The old stuff doesn't necessarily sound like the new stuff. So this talks about changing the sound. Like, there's so many narratives like this. We've talked about it in a previous conspiracy episode. Industry plant. This is fucking industry plant. I can't go a day without seeing Sleep Token. And I'm not saying it's a negative. I haven't dug into their music a ton. What I listened to a few months back was pretty good. But that's all I've really listened to.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think industry plant, but I also don't dislike the industry plant, So
eventually they're gonna reveal the names. Like,
they got to, right? Yeah. They have to.
So it's like a cliffhanger. This is like Netflix, wait for the next season, like next year, and you're just like hanging on, which creates buzz, like you're saying. Like, you're just waiting, and the discussion, and it's gonna trend on Twitter, and another 3 months will go by, and more things will come up. So yeah, might be a tactic. Good tactic.
Cool. All right. When do you guys give us one?
Keep it rolling here. This is one that I actually saw online. This is not even one that someone responded to us with. This is not my own. We can all react to it here. This is a hot take. Not writing their own music doesn't make an artist any less talented. So take a Beyonce. Doesn't write her own music, right? The fact that she doesn't write her own music, does that make her any less talented than maybe peers? I think this hot take is horseshit. I think if you write your own music, the equalizer is that it has to be good, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But if you can write your own music and perform it, there's a level of talent and that's why you throw in instruments too. I thought this was a good one. I thought this was a really good one.
So the hot take is, on the internet, in the streets, as we said,
out in the streets, baby,
is that just because they don't write their own music doesn't make them less
any less talented.
Okay, all right.
Any less talented.
What do you think, Nate?
That's a tough one. It reminds me of like America's Got Talent or American Idol. It's like they're replicating what they know, and the history of music has gotten pretty far. So it's a dicey one. It's kind of a loaded question, really, because at this stage in the game, like everything's been done. So you're always riffing off of someone's talent. So if you have a team of people writing for you, but you've perfected the execution element, there's something to be said there. We're just all, again, we're all about the classic model, which is write, perform.
But energy. Is it classic though? I think the team behind the scenes has been going on a lot longer than we think.
Long time.
That's true. Yeah, from the 50s especially, right? That was like the model.
I struggle with this because
it's a tough one.
Yeah, because there's a lot of music that I'm sure that I like and would tell you, oh man, I love that, and wouldn't have known that there was help for said song or said record. But at the same time, part of me is just like, yeah, go read "Single Ladies" by Beyonce, and there's like 75 people. I mean, that's the meme that always went around, right? There's like 75 writers versus one writer for Bohemian Rhapsody or the 4 guys from Queen. So I think I'm with you, Twan. I don't agree with it, but at the same time, I'm sure I'd be eating crow if somebody was like, yeah, what about this and this and this? And you said you love that. And there's there's 150 something episodes back there of me saying I like shit. So
right.
I'm sure I'm wrong, but yeah, I'm with you.
So it's really like you nailed it, Nate. It's really like how I look at it is the ceiling of talent for a performer is lower than the ceiling for someone who writes their own music and is a performer. You know what I mean? If you go by talent being the barometer, it's tough, right? Because if we held a standard and didn't move from that, we wouldn't, like a lot of artists that we love wouldn't meet that criteria.
True. Yeah.
So anyway, good one. Let's roll on to you, Nate. What do you got?
Okay, so this is one that you guys might be a little bit aware of, given it was kind of what brought this episode to life to an extent, was my theory that this band is always in some kind of weird, unfortunate turmoil, that the band Blink-182 behind the scenes is going through some pretty rough stuff, and that Travis Barker's dislocated finger is not a fake out, but possibly being overblown to buy time, both in the recording sessions and also touring, and maybe the fact that the band is literally at each other's throats for the 20th time. So, jumping in the studio and pretending like everything's all kosher is not necessarily the case, which, I mean, we all know that's not far-fetched, but I think the fact that the series of events and like now, like you don't even see them together in a room anymore. It's Tom doing a press release, just him solo. It's kind of bizarre,
So you're saying that the reason that Travis's finger's fucked is Tom slammed it in the car door.
Yeah, potentially.
Man, the 3 of them being in turmoil goes back 25 years. So there's some credence to that. And we haven't heard anything since Edging. When did that come out? The end of last year, right?
Months and months.
Yeah, like you don't have another one ready to go? Right. Or they probably
Where's
don't.
The rest of the shit, guys?
Yeah,
Come on.
And Tom Tom saying it's the best stuff we've ever written. It's like, it's hard to swallow, man, when we're, the 20th anniversary of Self-Titled is this year, and that record's so fucking good. But yeah, different story for a different day. But man, you might be right, Nate. They might still be having trouble behind the scenes. I hope not, because I love those guys, but man.
So I guess for anyone that's not following the Blink story, they canceled how many shows? South American shows? It's the first shows of this big tour.
Yeah.
And so what I did as someone who's a ticket holder for the Boston date in May, I looked at, well, how close is that to May? I'm like, should I be worried that this show is not going to happen? I don't know the timeline on a dislocated finger, but is 2 weeks going to make a difference? You know what I mean? Like, so I think this, right. I'm believing this, Nate. I think this is something fishy in the Blink water, and it ain't a dislocated finger.
I hope not, man. Shit.
Yeah, it could be many things. I mean, Travis went to the hospital 2 months ago for something that was undisclosed. So now this. So Travis is obviously going through some things. I also wrote down that for the longest time, up until recently when he got married to a Kardashian, he was like petrified of flying. So like flying international, this is the first like full-on international tour. Yeah. So he might just be losing his shit, and being, contractually obligated to fly over the world. Like, dude, you signed on the dotted line. Like, you have to fly now. And he's like, fuck. Someone slammed my finger in a door.
Hey, Kardashian wife, I don't even know which one it is. Slam my finger in a door, please, so I don't have to go on this tour.
Hey, whatever it is, I hope they do execute on every date beyond this.
Totally.
But I think you're sniffing something out, Nate, that has a little stench to it.
Yeah, I'm using my nerd third eye.
Third eye, not blind.
All right, I got another one for you. If you guys are ready. You ready?
Oh, yep. I'm fucking ready. Let's go.
Remember when Dave Grohl broke his leg?
When was that? Just
like 10 years ago.
Okay.
In the vicinity. Vaguely. And like it fell, broke his leg off stage, ended up being in that massive throne and playing shows still.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Okay, and Nate's shaking his head, but he's not talking, so I wasn't sure if we knew. Again, not a visual medium friend. But like, there's a little. Digging on the internet. There's a little bit of a conspiracy theory that was all a play to sell more tickets, to sell T-shirts of Dave's broken leg because they made those, to like just kind of bring eyeballs to that tour. Not that Foos need that. I think it's bullshit. I think he broke his leg, but people think that was all to drum up, eyeballs for this tour. What do you guys think?
Without knowing like the full story, I'm gonna call bullshit because I feel like you come up with a better reason. So like, what was the actual outcome? You said he was in a throne.
Yeah, he sat in a throne after he had his leg fixed and casted and whatever. He sat in a throne and shredded the remaining shows. He might have missed a half a show or a show, because that's just Dave. And he would do something like this where he gets this cool like Game of Thrones style throne and sits out there every night. I mean, that's what ended up happening. The shows went on, is what we'll say.
Well, I think I can't think of another excuse that would land you in the throne. So I'm going to say it is fiction. This is this is a theory that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I know that throne has been, if it's any fuel to the fire for those conspiracy people, like that throne has been, leased to Axl Rose when he was with Guns N' Roses. So it's like, it was a tangible rental piece of property that was used on many full scale, A-profile tours. So, but no, this is bullshit, unfortunately.
Somebody get Travis Barker's finger a throne stat.
Yeah, step it up.
I'm with you guys. It's bullshit. Good guy Dave Grohl just found a way to play shows for his fans because that's what he does.
Kind of like De La Roca, right? With the Rage.
Yeah, right. That's similar. Yep.
Sidebar, I was watching those videos on YouTube, and he does like stand up on one leg. He just can't sit still, and he bounces on one leg just for certain parts of the song. Guy's a man.
We forget they're people too, right? I mean, that shit happens, and you're a rock star, and you misjudge running out to the corner of the stage. I mean, hell, our interview with Seth and Sean a couple weeks ago, Sean talks about they're running around on stage, but they only have this tiny little bit of stage to work with. And if you mistime something, you fall down, you break a leg, you break a wrist, like that shit's real. It adds up.
Let's keep it rolling here. This one, I think you guys might agree. It's a hot take. I think it's a hot take, and it's been backed by research on the internet. Jurassic 5 is a top 5 hip hop group of all time. I love them. And so I just did some research today. I Googled top hip hop groups of all time, and I came up, I must have found 5 different lists from like legitimate outlets. Top 25 rap groups of all time, top 50 rap groups of all time. They were not listed in any of them. How? Like, for me, J5 is our generation's Tribe and De La Soul.
Yep.
100%. I don't know anyone else that was in our era that you could even compare them to. So that's the hot take. J5, top 5 rap group of all time.
Man, top 5 is tough, but I struggled to come up with 5. You named 2. De La Soul is probably one of them. Tribe Called Quest probably one of them.
Outkast, Farside. You got Wu-Tang. Like, there's Black Star. I mean, there's people in the conversation, but it goes back to like the Rage episode. There's a connection that is so hard for me to get out of to J5 that I really just don't have it with De La Soul or Tribe. Like Midnight Marauders, classic. I get it, Untouchable. But J5, almost a perfect catalog. Almost.
And so different in their deliveries. Yeah, shit. I'm with you. I love J5. I mean, you're talking to somebody who, yeah, I spent a ton of time with them in high school. Did like a project on one of their songs, and yeah, I'm a big fan.
I think it's a good hot take, and I would agree. And I think maybe the reason it wasn't on any of those lists is the timing was just not ideal in terms of those legacy acts that do make the list, which is like the 90s, and you have a 7 to 8 albums deep, and like Spin Magazine and Rolling Stone are pumping you like J5 Watt Draw. They came out in like 99, 2000, so it was like the tail end of it, which they still had a good run up until like 05, but it seems like they were always kind of like middle tier, and so they'll never get the full appreciation, which is bullshit when it comes to like making a list, but it does have probably some influence on that.
So they were a 95 to 07. So they spanned a pretty good range. I don't know. They got love, and the people that were into him loved him, but I don't think they got the love they deserved. And I think think about what's going on at that time as well. Was the audience ready for that? I mean, that's when Wu-Tang was at its peak. That's when the whole East Coast, West Coast thing was going on. So you're right. It could be a timing thing. If they had started in the early 90s, maybe a different conversation.
Oh, 100%.
Good point. Yeah. Because they kind of were that 90s, that sound, that like mid to, that it's hard to explain because you had to like be in it, but it was a certain sound that 90s rap had, and they fit with the front half of the 90s and not the gangster rap, not the, and yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, if they had come out when Tribe Called Quest came out, they might be literally at the same kind of stature.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're the only parallel where, like, when I really thought about it truly being a generational thing, you know what I mean? If you grew up, if you're 45 right now, then you would probably think the opposite of what I'm saying right now. You would say Tribe is your...
Yeah, or De La Soul.
De La Soul. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do a deep dive on them at some point.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Nate, you're up. Let's keep this rolling, Nate.
I'm up. Keep it rolling. I got a
rolling.
Hot take. I guess it could be a conspiracy theory. No, it's a hot take. I think in the very near future, we've alluded to this in conversation for sure, but given the current circumstances of the live music industry, and when you think about the showbiz industry, call it, what year was it? 2011, I think, maybe even before that. I think there's going to be a live music industry strike. I think a lot of people are fed up. There's a lot of tours that are on hold. We talked about the Metallica tour not even going till 2024. I think behind the scenes, there's a lot of people that are pissed off, getting underpaid. The climate, the cost of doing business is just out of control, that there's going to be some kind of uprising. Yeah, it seems like we could be in a situation where people that are in the industry, maybe even non-union, are being taken advantage of to the extent where their pay isn't justified given the current climate, and with inflation and cost of living, and you see where the money's coming in, big, huge advances, but no one's getting a cut. The people that are putting on the show aren't getting a cut, and there's going to be a strike potentially.
So you're saying like the people setting the rooms up, the people working in front of house, all that stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of it's unionized, but there's a big portion of the industry that isn't. That's just, hey, I'm passionate about live music, but why do I make $10 an hour? This is ridiculous.
I don't think that's just music. I think you're right, though. I think there's a lot of industries that are in that boat where, man, there's a lot of money coming into this place, but I ain't seeing much of it.
I think that is what you're saying. It's the writing's on the wall, and you just have binoculars, and you can see it now, where I think most people will see this even more like in the next 6 months to 12 months. And you're already seeing it, right? Venues taking merch sales has been going on for years, and now people are sick of it, right? And now it's being vocalized. This could be the next piece of that, right? Because the trend before that was people aren't getting Spotify cuts. So now I'm vocal. Now I'm leaving the platform. Now I'm not going to play Live Nation gigs. And now you're saying it's the boots on the ground people that are like, fuck this. Yeah, I could see it. I think it's a lukewarm take. I think that's going to happen. I'm just kidding. That's a great. That's really good, Nate.
It could very well be a lukewarm take. Yeah.
I think it's happening.
Scalding hot. I didn't want to turn my microphone on. My hands are on fire. I'm with you, Nate. It's a good one. That's a good take.
Man, then what happens?
Then what happens?
Basement shows,
Yeah.
baby. Low overhead, low cap, but low overhead.
Yeah, $4 to get in. I'm fucking down for that.
Warehouse shows. Yeah, basement shows. Shows in the woods.
Woods parties in the Cape Woods party.
Yes, Cape Woods parties, all those things. More deep Maine lore. All right, I don't have any more that are mine, but we have a bunch written down here. Do you guys have any more that are yours?
I have one more. What do you got, Twan?
I got one that it'll actually probably be a good segue because it's not my take. It's one that I saw on TikTok. I don't know. The streets are talking and TikTok's listening, because in my TikTok feed, a guy had a TikTok vid, controversial opinion, and then he gave it. And here it is. Incubus was one of the best bands of their time frame, and music like this is definitely on its way back into mainstream. So I assume this guy's talking about nu metal, and if he is, it's fucking coming back, baby. I think it's nu metal is more respected now than maybe it was back then, because now you have all these older people that have lived life, experienced, all the flavors of ice cream, ice cream being music, all the flavors, and they've come back to nu metal. So I think controversial opinion is, maybe Incubus were the best of the time frame. One of them, one of the best to do it. But I guess the punchline here is, I think nu metal is, it's back, baby.
Nu metal's back. I'm with you. Nu metal has had a great kind of year and a half as we've come out of the pandemic. There's more bands that sound like them today or sound like the nu metal sound from 20 years ago today than were out before the pandemic. And normalizing liking Limp Bizkit is fine. Like, we've been doing that for years, but now more people are listening to that. They're like, oh, those guys are right. Limp Bizkit doesn't suck. I was wrong. There's some great fucking songs in that catalog.
It's okay to like what you like. I mean, that's the, and I think once we're in a society that encourages individuality in every type of interest, and I'm glad that people are finally good with admitting that they love Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, equal opportunity. I think it checks all the right boxes. It's a nostalgia play. I think we talked about it a few episodes ago, that heavy music is taking over. So has a lot of heavy elements in nu metal, but it still has that crossover factor as well. So it's not just in your face heavy the whole time. Like Incubus is a great example, because they have their heavy moments, but there's melodic moments. So that gives it that multi-generational feel to it. Yeah, it is a hot take, controversial, accurate description of the music climate today.
It's kind of lukewarm.
Yeah, it could be lukewarm.
Because I don't think Incubus being one of the best bands of their time frame is controversial. Like, I think maybe some of it's gotten lost over time because the front catalog is so different than the back catalog, and it lost a lot of people on the way. But man, the first half of the catalog, and there's pockets of brilliance after that, but man, it's tough to call them not the best band, one of the best bands of that time frame. Yeah.
In talking about Incubus, they are definitely one of the best bands of that time frame, and they're a band that went from kind of heavy and funky and nu metal, and didn't like it or liked what they got out of being a little more radio friendly, and now disavow the sound, but did both really well in that time frame. So one of our favorite bands collectively from that time, for sure. House band, I would say.
Yeah, definitely a house band.
So that was brought to us by, let's see, Savings Band. So a band probably called Savings on TikTok. So I don't know. Now I know about them. So their marketing ploy worked.
It worked.
Free plug, yeah.
All right, next one. Who's up?
Nate, you give us your last one, Nate.
Okay, last one for personal is that this is more of a hot take than conspiracy, that Amazon is going to buy Spotify or Elon Musk's app, the X app, which hasn't launched yet. I think it's supposed to launch in like a year or two. It's going to be part of a Twitter package. Will rival Spotify so much that there might be a merger or acquisition in that space. So either Elon's going to buy Spotify or Amazon's going to buy Spotify.
I think Amazon first, but I'm not sure they give a fuck. Because look at their, like, they threw a lot of money at, like, TV shows and stuff for Amazon Prime, the streaming wars or whatever, but they never, like, really felt like they were jumped in head first like Netflix does or like Apple TV Plus did or any of that stuff. So I'm not sure they'll care as much, but if anybody has the bag, it's Bezos, right?
This is a good one because it really depends on how irrational are these fuckers with their money. And I think Elon is more irrational because Spotify doesn't make money. I think there's a longer play there to get you on, and then there'll be upsell services and they'll increase the monthly premium and all that. Bezos, think of his acquisitions. He's done Whole Foods, which was a brilliant one. He bought Roomba, the vacuum that now he has an outline of your apartment or house, and he can sell you shit that, you know, apartment size stuff. Elon is just throwing $44 billion at Twitter, and are they making money? I don't know. I have no idea, but I know Spotify revenues are up there, profit not so much. So I'm going. Let me say this: if it's not Spotify, it will be something else in that space, just because he can.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, that's where I think I brought Spotify up. Is what's the competition? It's
there's a couple, Apple Music, and
which Apple's not going to sell their assets.
Google has YouTube Music, which is similar but different.
So Spotify is the only independent company.
Don't forget about Tidal.
Yeah, Tidal, very artist friendly.
True.
I don't know anyone. Well, actually, didn't you tell you bought it for Kanye's?
I did.
Life of Pablo?
Yeah, just because I wanted to listen to Life of Pablo when it came out. And I mean, if you did it around that time and paid the month or whatever, you got to listen to an album that no longer exists anywhere. So kind of cool in the moment, right? I'm just justifying it to myself.
Oh, yeah. No. You know, we won't talk about that album, I guess. But
yeah, you
know what? It's something. I bet Elon will get in there just to spread his wings, and I don't know. He's bored. I don't know. Well, actually,
so it could be a warm take.
No, I think Elon is the guy because he has the chip that's going to be in your brain. That'll be the feed. There'll be brainwave music. You know what I mean? There'll be, because they're headphones that don't they just like go to your?
I think so. Yeah.
Temple or something. Yep. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this, but Elon's the fucking guy, dude.
Hot take, scalding hot take. Aren't there headphones that like attached to your dome? Yeah, there are. Yeah,
it's inside your dome.
Yeah, and he'll have you know, a new Google Glass eyepiece that'll, you know, hey brain, play the Used Red and Yellow. Oh, is that a segue?
Blue and yellow, but yes,
blue and yellow, red and yellow. Wiz Khalifa. Oh,
black and yellow.
I almost literally fell out of my chair.
Oh man, that's great. I love it. Yeah, that's a good segue actually, because we threw this out to our friends and followers on the social media platforms, right? So, do we want to start with our boys in the Itch?
Yeah, the Itch on Twitter. What'd they say, Tone?
Well, I think they have a little inner turmoil because Casey from the Itch asked if the Used was good, and Aaron told us that they are good. So, the question was, are the Used any good? And it sounds like they, as a collective, they're a podcast like us, from around the same age. 3 guys grew up together doing the music thing, and they maybe aren't sure if the Used are any good. What do we think, guys? Do we think the Used is good?
Well, let me just say this. I said that Used song, that specific one, without even seeing what.
Oh, you didn't even see the tweet?
Well, no, I saw the tweet, but I saw Aaron's response, but I didn't scroll down enough to see which song. So nerdvoyance, that's all I'm saying.
Wow.
The Used are phenomenal. I would say I have not listened to like Artwork, and there's a few others. So I can't weigh in on those, but first 3 albums, right? In Love and Death, is it In Love and Death? Self-titled.
Oh, what's the name of that 3rd record? I'll look it up. But yes, I hear what you're saying. I'm with you.
The Used are great, and we lived it in the moment with them. A lot of it probably had to do with our musical taste at the time and age and it being new and edgy and fresh, but it struck every note with me. Yes, confirmed. Good.
Lies for the Liars was the 3rd record.
Oh, Lies for the Liars. Okay.
Yeah, I think we can collectively say here that we're not pulling a Blink-182 and at each other's throats. We agree that the Used is a great band.
And they have a new song called People Are Vomit.
Which is a bandvantage. No, I mean a bandicap, right? We said that was a bandicap on Twitter. I am a first 2 records used guy all day long. And yeah, I think Blue and Yellow, it's funny because that is my favorite used song. I did see the tweet, so I agree with Aaron in that respect. But I might lean towards the Are They Good Now, I guess, would be my question. And I don't know. So I got to do a little research, a little nerd homework there.
I love they have an album called Artwork, which our boy Frank Maddox did the artwork for, I believe. And then they have a newer album from a couple years ago called Heartwork.
Mm-hmm.
So, little callback.
We love callbacks.
All right, we want to keep this rolling?
Yeah. So another Twitter friend, Brian Colburn, been on this podcast with us back on episode 84. Didn't have to look it up. He was with Playlist Wars, is now got his own thing called My Weekly Mixtape, which one of us will be on there in the fairly near future, I'm sure. Says he likes the Rolling Stones catalog over the Beatles catalog, and I fucking agree with him.
I've never been a Beatles guy, and it's not I hate them. It's not that. It's more maybe I don't get it. Like, I appreciate them, but I'm not turning on a Beatles album. But at the same time, I'm not turning on a Stones album. So I'm probably not qualified to even weigh in. I think they're both overrated. How about that?
Ooh, that's a hot
Sorry,
take.
Brian. Sorry,
Scalding
Brian.
hot take.
Scalding
Yes.
hot. So
Overrated.
hot. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Twan. Like, I don't reach for the Beatles and rarely the Rolling Stones. It's a song, it's never a record. But if it is a record from this era, it's usually Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin. So it's like a completely different side of this era of music. So yeah, I'm kind of in both boats. But for the most part, Rolling Stones and Beatles are kind of, yeah, they're great. Overrated, that's a hot take. But I go for the other stuff.
The Segway King is back. Nate, Nate doesn't even know he did it. More
The
nerd voice.
unintentional. Listen.
Yeah, exactly.
I assume it's Seth because it was the Twitter feed of the band Trawl, who we just had on a few weeks ago. Go listen to that episode too. But he says, or they say, the bridge in Knife Party, Deftones' Knife Party, doesn't happen without the song "Great Gig in the Sky" by Pink Floyd. So
It's conspiracy theory. Like, that's a conspiracy.
yeah. And I mean, it could be both, right? It's a hot take or a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And I think it's spot on. Having listened to both, I'm like, I hear that completely. That is a great call. And I wonder how much Dark Side of the Moon Chino and the boys were listening to when making White Pony.
Wow, we had the exact same thought. I mean, full disclosure, I'd never heard that song before. Great Gig in the Sky. I listened to it and I'm like, yeah, that like female sounding vocal run is near identical.
It's so close.
It's like around the 3.5 minute mark in Knife Party off White Pony. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, has it been on record that Chino is influenced by Pink Floyd? I don't know. Has it? Do you guys know?
I've never read that. No.
No, me either. And I wonder if somebody brought it to the table. It had to have said, let's do something like this and fit it into Knife Party, which is amazing.
Who was the producer? Terry Date for that one? We'd have to ask him. Or Chino. We'll just get Chino in.
We'll get Chino, yeah. After he's done with Zane Lowe.
Well, and that's that's why I love this. Kind of throwing this out to the crowd, because I would have never, in my wildest dreams, ever thought of this or made this connection, or So this is a nerd fest, and you're invited.
Yes, and we appreciate all the people that have, gave us these. We had a couple more here. I think. Do we want to do the hot take, Taking Back Sunday one, or
Let's do that one?
Okay,
yeah,
and then
Market 182.
Yeah, and there's one at the end that I like, because on a broader scale too, that we'll close out with after that. But yeah, Mark at 182 on Instagram says, "Where You Want to Be is better than Tell All Your Friends," from Taking Back Sunday, and I disagree with him.
It's a hot take, and I also disagree. But I will say, I'm looking at the track list for Where You Want to Be. It's got fucking tracks. I mean,
so many bangers.
Set Phasers to Stun, Bonus Mosh Part 2, best fucking name ever. A Decade Under the Influence, and then you got like New American Classic, 180 by Summer. Like it's closer than you think.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's another one of those. When did this person get into the music? Was it
Agreed.
on that album?
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%. 100%.
It's like when we were talking about Incubus earlier. Like people that were digging Incubus during Science, and then Make Yourself comes out, they're probably like, Science is better.
Yeah,
and it could be
100%.
flipped. Could be flipped all day, right? So
we want to hear, Market, like, what are, like, I want to know the reasons. And I also want to know when you got into what album you first got into them, because I think your theory may be correct, Nate.
That's a great call. And if you go back to our interview with the boys in Koyo, Harold and Joey, they throw this record out there when talking about Taking Back Sunday. Do they not?
I think it's a different one.
Oh, no, you're right. Is it
It's not even louder now. It's a late one.
Well, it's not Tell All Your
New
Friends.
Again.
Yeah.
New Again.
It's not Tell All Your Friends is the point. And it's because they're a little younger than we are and got into them at a different time. And I'm sure they go back and listen to those records and love them too, but we had Tell All Your Friends in the moment. So we're going to be like, who is this? This is amazing. This is exactly how I feel as a 17-year-old. Like, holy shit. So yeah, it's when you get into them. So, but both great records. You're right, Twan. It is probably closer than you think, but I'm going to disagree with Market, but I love the discourse here.
And thanks for commenting. I didn't know what we were going to get in those responses, and that was a good one. All right, there's a few more at least a couple more on Twitter. I don't know.
I've got one. Let's wrap up with this one.
The Eagles one?
Yeah, I like the Eagles one for a couple different reasons. Yep. Yeah. So XRadioX is a podcast too, a music podcast as well, part of the fam. They commented, the Eagles' greatest hits shouldn't be counted as a top grossing album on Billboard. And because of this, it shows that people just didn't love the Eagles. And, my nerd brain goes to, if you love a band or a band becomes so big that an album is canon and everybody has their hands on it, a la like Michael Jackson's Thriller or something of that ilk, then yeah, you're grabbing an Eagles record that is your favorite one. But a lot of people just grabbed the greatest hits, because they were probably Radio Rock, one of the biggest hits makers of that era, and a lot of people just liked them. I would agree with that completely.
I'm going to comment on the first half of this, which is it should not count on Billboard's highest grossing album chart. And my immediate response was, well, why wouldn't it count? And then I thought, well, that was back in the non-digital era. Now, take the same concept in the digital era. When a band puts out a greatest hits, like, what streams do you count? Do you count, you know what I mean? So at that point, like, would they inherit all the legacy spins? There's so many questions I have. Man, that is a hot take. It shouldn't count. I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
It's a hot take, and I agree with them because, yeah, it gets convoluted. It's like, okay, so this is just the same recording put on a different disc, and it's charting again.
But it still moved units, though.
Still moved units. Yeah. It's like a cheat code, basically.
Yeah, right. and right. The moving units factor is because people liked, say, Hotel California or Desperado or, the hits, but no one was like, I love that Eagles record, and that Eagles record is going to be canon. It's going to be the one that everybody points to, or there's two Eagles records that people point to. And there probably are for people. It's a little further back in the history than what we would have kind of come up with, but we're all aware of the Eagles. Like, we have parents that listen to that stuff all the time, I'm sure. So my dad's in the other room. I can go ask him if you guys want to know.
Right.
But shit, yeah, it's an interesting one for two different reasons. One, are they liked and not loved? And two, should it have counted? And I don't think it should have counted. I think it's a cheat code, Nate.
I think it is a cheat code. Although, take I don't know, Blink's live record, Mark, Tom, and Travis show. Did that go gold? If it did, are we saying that doesn't count? You know what I mean? Where do you draw the line? And I know, like, highest grossing is different than a certification. Like, I understand that, but
yeah,
it's still metric of sales.
It's true. That's a good point. And you're right. Those songs aren't new songs. They're just live songs. So,
although Man Overboard, I don't know. There's so many fucking loopholes.
Yeah. Good point. And a lot of, we've talked about that before. Those greatest hits records or live records are to satisfy a deal sometimes. And sometimes they add a song or two songs just to kind of add hype for those things too. So,
yeah, differentiator on the live record. I think live record can be standalone because it's such a unique piece that was good enough to go to pressing. And greatest hits, though, I think we're all on the same page here.
Debatable.
Sometimes, sometimes very, very not so much the case. But yeah, we were talking about Incubus earlier, right? They put out like two greatest hits. It is the same collection of songs. It's a timing thing. I think the greatest hits, especially with like the Eagles and like Tom Petty, like there was just an era where that was just a financial, adjustment that you made. Like, I don't have the money to buy, $15 records. I'm just going to buy this one. Now everything's streaming, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's basically the equivalent of a music festival. It's Nate's bang for your buck. You get the greatest hits.
Yep. Well, hey, in that realm, our greatest hits record's dead. Because I would say they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need you to curate your greatest hits. I just made my own Spotify playlist of the greatest hits. So
yeah, exactly.
No, exactly. I was going to say what Twan said. You make your own little greatest hits, your deep cut, personal greatest hits. Now it's catered to your personal taste.
Yeah, true. Good point. Well, that was a good one. It got us thinking about a couple of different realms there. So we want to thank everybody that tossed us a question or a hot take or a conspiracy theory or a combination of the two. Super stoked to have those in there. And we'll do this again. I mean, these are fun ones because it's fun to kind of outsource some of the content, but at the same time, we love coming up with dialogue and questions and conspiracies that we can banter back and forth too. So thanks for checking us out.
It wasn't even planned, so appreciate everyone. Same day. This was fun. Yeah, this is your first episode. There's a million episodes back there. Dive in, enjoy, and shout out to the person that listened to episode 1 like 9 times last week.
Yeah, or the 8 people that listened to it. Thank you.
See you next week.
See you next time. Cheers.
Peace, potheads. Thank you for listening to Podio Slave. We are at Podio Slave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places that you can find us on social media. Facebook, Podio Slave Podcast. YouTube, Podio Slave Podcast there. Email us at podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to become a supporter, click on the link at the bottom of the episode and give us $1, give us $5. It keeps the lights on, keeps us going. We really appreciate that stuff. Thank you.